Hey friends, welcome and welcome back to noseyAF. This is a show with conversations about artists, activists, and we talk about social change, talk about art, film, all of that stuff. And so if this is your first time here, welcome. If not, welcome back. And I would like to welcome you to December. Can you believe it? Oh my God, where has the year gone? We're about to wrap up 2024. And I'm over here like, this year really went fast. But now that I see all the Christmas trees, I had an appointment earlier today and there were carolers in the lobby. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is right timing. Maybe, the Christmas season is like letting everybody slow down, take their time, because while it felt like a roller coaster all year, now it feels just right to me. And I wonder if that's the same for you. So you will have to tell me what you think, because it is quite the mind F. So today's episode is a solo one, and it's just me catching up with y'all. Since we last gathered, I participate in my very first holiday market. And if it's your first episode listening, a previous episode, which I'll put in the show notes, I was talking about how I was going to participate in this holiday market and I was really excited about it. And it was such a vibe. And then directly after that, I headed to Kansas City, Missouri for this event put on by Midway, this artist coalition, I guess they would call themselves. They had a convening, and that was really cool. It definitely deserves its own episode, so I will share about that in a future episode. Then, it was Thanksgiving, and before you knew it, I was helping a friend on a short film, and it's just been busy. But I really wanted to talk to you about the holiday market and then set us up for the rest of the year. So let's get into it, because it's going to be so much fun. Here comes my theme song.
Gotta get up, tell the whole world you a winner. Vision of a star with a mission and a cause. What you doing, how you doing, what you doing, and who you are. Flex yourself, impress yourself. Check yourself, don't wreck yourself. If you know me, then you know that I be knowing what's up. Hey, Stephanie Graham is nosy as
Okay, so this holiday market, this was my very first one. It was my very first market. So let me not just say holiday market, but it was my first market. And again, if you're new here, I make these tiny pins only when I have an idea. Really, I don't have a, consistent production line or anything like that. But when I have an idea for a pin, I make it. And so I have them here, and I thought, my union, I work in movies as my 9 to 5. And one of my film unions was hosting a holiday market for members who also are artisans and create things. And this was our second year doing it. It was produced by the Women's Committee, of which I'm a member of. And it was a lot of fun. It was free to have a table, which, usually at vending opportunities that I've understood from other friends that do markets and things like that usually have to pay a table fee. But this, if you're a member of IATSE, which is like a film workers union, it's like a bunch of unions underneath an umbrella, it was free. So did that. My cousin Brandy has a fashion line called Poor Little Rich Girl, and had some sweatsuits she had left over that she hadn't sold, that she had in her collection. And so we're like, you know what, let's bring these sweatsuits. I'll bring my pins, and let's see, how we do in person, because usually these are online businesses. And so it was cute. We got our signs made. And we made some signage. And then my friend Felicia, who makes all this balloon art, she did all of this balloon art for the market. And then she also gave us a present, like a balloon shaped present for our table. And, it was really cute. So many of these things, if y'all go to holiday market, you see they have all these elaborate displays. We didn't have any of that. We had a table and a tablecloth that they provided us. And then I have these like cute little snack bowls in my kitchen that I just like put like little popcorn and stuff. I grabbed those. I'm like, okay, this will be cute. We had our sign holder, so I displayed the pins and the little bowls just right. And then Brandy set up her sweatsuits just right. And we were open for business, baby. And it was so cute. Santa Claus was there. They had entertainment. A Tony Bennett impersonator was there who was excellent. I have no knowledge of Tony Bennett, so it really could have been like a Black woman up there being like, I'm Tony Bennett. I would have been like, oh yeah, you're really, really good. Like I just had no idea. And so it was really fun. Our table was right in front of the stage and it was super cute. Brandy sold some of her sweatsuits. I sold some of my pins and, I made like a little bit under $200. I thought it was super, super cool. And then we kicked it. There was a DJ. We were dancing. They had crafts, food. It was really, really such a lovely, lovely day. But it did make me think like, okay, would I do this again? And my friend Nyla was giving me some advice. And Nyla has a brand called Homegirls Hummus. And it's all these tasty hummus. And she's always doing farmers markets and different pop-ups. And she was giving me like the idea of like other ways I could display my pins. When you vend, you don't just want to have one thing, you want to have many things. And maybe if you, wonderful listener, vend, that's what we call it, vending, you might have some insight to this, but as I did look around, people did definitely have more than one thing versus like Brandy and I here with our sweatsuits and pins, full stop. And I'm like, okay, I'll think about that, if I was to do it in the future, which I don't necessarily know if I want to. What was fun was meeting all these people, like showing them the pins in person, letting them see them, interact with them, buy them in person, like you don't really get to see who your buyers are. And maybe because like a lot of the buyers like also worked in the film industry, it was some folks from the public, it was a mix of people. I thought that kind of interaction was fun. So maybe if the opportunity presents itself again and the table fee is like, I don't know what. Because here's the thing, if I made less than $200 and I would have paid like $400 for my table, I would have been screwed, So I think that that's sort of like a big gamble doing those markets. But, being in business, I guess that's just what comes with it. I don't know. I was really grateful to be a part of the market, though. I put some pictures on my Instagram, so I'll like link that in the show notes if y'all want to check it out. But I'm just so curious, like if y'all vend, if you guys participate in markets, I would love to know your experience because it definitely is that thing. Even my cousin Brandy, I should have had her on. Maybe we could have like talked about this, but she has like her line of clothes, her sweatsuits are pretty inclusive, like small up to like maybe like 3-4X. And usually she would have sold out of the plus sizes. But at this particular market, people were looking for smalls and mediums. So it's like, how do you know what to bring in that sense? This, she's just like, let's just see what happened. She ended up selling one. Okay, great. But how do you know what to bring? I guess you bring everything maybe, and there were people there that had so much stuff. So I think it was a learning lesson, to just sort of a different experience more than a learning lesson to sell your stuff in person, because even like at art shows, in particular, like with my art, or even just like going to different exhibitions around Chicago, people have prices up there, but because I don't necessarily see the transactions being made in the exhibitions, who's to know, like how that goes down. It's not like in a market where it's like, yes, I'll take this one. Here is the money for this one. And then that's that. It's like sort of done underground or whatever. But I think it was fun. If you like to kick it, you like to be around people, and you can afford a table, I think it could be fun. You should give it a shot for sure. Like everything, it's a gamble. This was a gamble, just mostly of our time, really, and us printer ink. Like Brandy made us some cute signs. I made a little special price for the holiday, and it was cute. So if you have vended before, you want to come on noseyAF to talk about your market experience, I think that the audience would be down to hear that. But y'all let me know. Let me know if you guys are like, Steph, we do markets every weekend. Like, no, do not talk about that. Let me know. But otherwise, if that's you, come on down. Would love to hear from you. Before I wrap up today, I want to let you know what's coming up for the rest of the year. So next week, we are going to have a conversation with Eric Von Hayes, who is a super talented printmaker and a part of this project called The Love Fridge. And I think you're really going to love him. And it's going to be great to hear his story and hear about his projects. And then following that, I have a couple of special guests that's still in the works, but fingers crossed that they come through for us. And then probably after that, I'll take a little break to close out the year. So not really any new content I'm promising, but just sort of a reset so that we all come back fresh in 2025. So, we all just need some time to pause and breathe. I really think I might even just get off of social media, so that's even good. Do y'all take social media breaks? I would love to know about that too. So hit me up because I love hearing from y'all. But that's the plan. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope your December is off to a great start. And I can't wait to keep sharing with you as we wrap up 2024. Thank you so much for being here, and talk to you soon. This has been another episode of noseyAF. I'm your host, Stephanie Graham. What did you think about today's conversation? I would love to hear your thoughts. Head over to the noseyAF website for all the show notes related to this episode. You can also find me on Instagram at Stephanie Graham. What would you know? Or online at missgraham.com, where you can sign up for my newsletter where I share exclusive updates about my studio practice as well as this podcast. Until next time, y'all, stay curious and take care. Bye.